So you've gone on a date or two, and you've reached this crossroads, and you've probably been here before. Maybe you've been here a dozen times before. Maybe it's your ongoing story, but you get to this place where you say, "I like them, and are they the right one? Like, are they the right one? Maybe for the next date, but are they the right one that I want to create a real lasting relationship with? I want to have a future with." How do you know? How do you know when it's the old story kind of pulling you back, the fear of commitment, the fear of connection, the fear of I'm not good enough, they're not good enough. How do you know when it's that? And it's more of a this is just not the right connection. Something deeper than the old wounds that you might have, that I might have. How do you know? And if it is the end, if you recognize, okay, we actually are not meant for each other, or we're not meant for each other at this time in our lives, this time our paths are crossing, because that's also possible. Like, now, this might be the most amazing person, a perfect match for me, and we're just not meeting each other at the right times in our lives. Right? I've got this going on, they've got this going on, whatever it might be, that absolutely happens. And that's actually not such a bad thing to walk into this next part, which is how do I end this? Well, I think for one, it helps to really take stock of what are my own needs in a relationship. Not what are my wants and desires. I like to go to lots of parties. I'd like to have lots of evenings home. I'd like to, have someone who looks good on my arm, who I can bring home to my parents. But it's the deeper part. It's the deeper part. I have this need for unconditional love. I have this need for security. I have this need for safety. I have this need for extra energy. It's those needs that are really important to really have a grasp of when we're thinking about, is this the right person for me to continue dating? And then the question is, if they're not, how do we convey that? As I said before, part of it might come from that place of recognizing first within myself, not necessarily a conversation, but, oh, this is an amazing person. And let me hold them with gratitude and with honor, recognizing that this just isn't the right time for the two of us. So a couple things to do, though. Once you recognize your own needs, then the question often can become, okay, when I'm with this person, do I feel drained or do I feel enlivened? And I'm guessing as I'm saying this, you're like, oh yeah, I've been there. I wanted to make it work, and this thing was just draining me. This thing, the relationship, not the thing, the person. The person is the person, but the relationship is just draining me. Or the relationship is giving me life. That's a super important distinction to make. Where is my energy flowing? Is my energy all flowing out, or is energy also flowing in? If it's going both ways and it's pretty equal, but if it's all going out, then the question has to be, why am I still with this person? Why am I still with this person who's just draining me every time? I'm exhausted when I'm with them. I'm probably enlivened when I'm not with them. Maybe the thought of them later is actually enlivening, but I find that every time I'm with them, I am just draining. Sometimes that's an indicator to dig deeper into your own work. But in this place of dating, it's also a good time to say, hey, this has been great, or it's been whatever it is, and I need to go do some of my own work. I need to step away. So how do you do it with compassion? Well, there's the knots, right? Don't ghost. Don't blame. Don't make excuses. But own. Own the I am not feeling this connection that I need. And you can even go into your needs. Right? My need for unconditional love, my need for safety, my need for security, my need for enlivenment, my need for emotional regulation, whatever it might be, you can share those things, but the practice would be first to let go of all the energy that comes with it so that when you can speak to them, it's speaking to them from this place of groundedness, of knowing, of caring. If you're the one in the position of making this decision, depending on how long you've been dating, 1 date, 2 dates, it might simply be a, hey, thanks, I appreciate the time we've spent together, and it's time for me to say goodbye. We've decided to go in a different direction. It's kind of like what they say when you're applying for a job. Hey, thank you. We appreciate your application, all the interviews you did, but we've decided to go in another direction. Don't bring that to your date, but do bring the, hey, I'm not feeling fully connected here, and for me, it's time to say goodbye. If it's a longer relationship, and longer obviously is relative, but longer can be many weeks of dating, intense dating, many months of dating. Then it comes to, how do I create the container for dissolving this relationship? We saw a lot about intentional uncoupling or decoupling a few years ago, and got all the kind of news media about, oh, what a crazy California thing to do. But there's something really brilliant about that also, and really, I think, full of integrity about that also. We've created a relationship, however that relationship is. You can characterize it as really good, really bad, whatever it is, but you're ending it for some reason, so it can't be all that great. So there's a responsibility, though, of how do we go forward? And obviously, if there are toothbrushes now at your house, or you've been living together or something like that, there's more things to decouple. But even if you haven't taken those steps, there's still the container that you've created in this relationship, and there's a way of dissolving it with integrity, and there's a way of dissolving it without integrity. As I said before, without integrity, it's the blame, it's ghosting, it is, throwing pots and pans, whatever it might be. And so the place of integrity is recognizing the intrinsic beauty in this other person, recognizing the sacred sparks within this other person. And from that place, saying, how do I hold this person as we're taking steps apart? And now I just want to be clear. If there's abuse here, if there's whether emotional abuse or physical abuse or certainly sexual abuse or financial abuse, anything like that, then put this aside. I'm not talking about that kind of relationship. I'm talking about a relatively healthy relationship, one just where you don't quite click, where you don't feel like, okay, this is my match for this next period of my life. And so you create this container, this environment where you have time for sharing and for speaking and for time apart. So if you've been with someone for a couple months, it might look like we are going to have a conversation tomorrow. And then I suggest we take a couple days away and let's have lunch, or let's have coffee, or maybe even let's just meet on a park bench next Wednesday and spend half an hour. And so really create that construct for it. So we have some timelines, we have some limits, like let's get together. It's not going to be a time where we spend hours and hours and hours deconstructing everything we've done. But it's time limited, it's time bound. We're going to spend half an hour, we're going to spend an hour. And I'm going to give you, let's give each other some space to share the feelings of our heart, the truth of our heart. Let's give each other some space to own where we fell short in this relationship. Not where you fell short, but where I fell short, right? Not a blame, but an ownership. And depending on the length and the intensity of the relationship, this process might be only 1 or 2 times we meet. Maybe it's a video call. Maybe it's in person. Maybe it's a phone call. I discourage you from just texting back and forth, because text can just create all kinds of misunderstanding, and we read it again and we read it again. What do they really mean there? We'll read it again, or we show our friend. And instead, have that conversation face to face, as nervous as you might be. Maybe bring notes with you so you don't miss something, but have it as a dialogue, but a dialogue where one of you agrees to listen and one agrees to speak, and not a chance to rebut, but a time simply to listen, to acknowledge, and to thank. Because ultimately, that thanks, that gratitude, is what's going to be most healing for us. And gratitude, even when you're breaking up, even when you're saying goodbye, is so important, because look, that person gave us what was most precious to them, which is their time, their energy, their love, perhaps their body. And so there's so many things we're giving in a relationship. So to show some gratitude for that, and then to be able to bow, to say thanks, and to move on is such a gift. So if you're in this place and you're not sure, is this the right relationship for me? Go back to those original needs. Then take the step of, are they bringing me more energy or draining more energy? And is this the right person for this time in my life? Recognizing that they might be for some time later, and that may never happen, right? That opportunity might be gone. But for right now, is this the place where I most need to be? And if it's a no, then take the steps to dissolve. If it's a yes, that hey, there is a space in there. It's kind of crunchy right now. It's not working so well right now, but there is a space in there to recreate the relationship. Then go all in and recreate. For that, check out another one of my videos.